We're getting into chapter 7 now, and that means we are almost done advanced functions. Okay, so you know what? Let's speed it up. 7.1 I'm not going to make a video on because it's all on review of exponent stuff that you can do on your own. 7.2 I'm going to do after this video because I'm actually excited to get into the last two laws for logarithms. You already learned one before. It was called power law, and that was in 6.4. So this one I'm going to teach you the product and the quotient laws, which are the second and third laws. Now, all three laws are actually based on your grade 9 exponent laws. So remember how, like, if you multiply two terms, they have the same base. What you're going to do is you're going to add the exponents, right? M plus n. And then if you have two terms, but you're dividing, they have the same base, you're going to subtract the exponents. And then if you have a power of a power, you're going to multiply the exponents. Well, those exponent laws, so you see we have all of them right here. This was your addition, this was your subtraction, this was your multiplication. Those are going to give way to your three logarithmic laws. Okay, so these are just the grade 9 exponent laws. Now, these are your grade 12 logarithmic laws. Okay, so don't freak out. Your power law you already learned about in 6.4. It was where you bring down the n and you end up taking the n and multiplying it to the logarithm. So it's kind of like multiplying, something to do with the exponents. It's similar to that last law, like it has the multiplication part of it. Okay, now your product law. If you ever see a log with two things multiplying each other, you can split them up into two separate logs with the same base, okay, but you're adding them. Okay, so that was like the addition exponent law, okay? And if you have the quotient law, where you have a log with two things dividing each other, you can split them up into separate logs with the same base, and then you're just taking the numerator minus the denominator, and there you go. That's the subtraction exponent law. Okay, so very similar to the exponent laws, and that's what gives way to these guys. So let's really quickly see them in practice. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to post a separate video on some more examples, but I'm going to do some simple examples first. So these ones are a little bit simpler. You have the same base. Okay, so that's very important. You can't use any of these laws if you don't have the same base. So you got these guys are invisible base 10, and these guys you have log of base 6. All right. Now, because this is a minus, that makes me think of a quotient law, which means I'm going to take this guy, divide it by this guy to put them together and express them as a single logarithm. So you'll get some questions where they're like, here are two separate ones, put them together as one. Or you'll get some examples where it's like, here's one, I want you to split them up into two separate ones. Okay, so you need to know how to go back and forth. You can go further and divide this and get 32, and if you can, try to see if you can go even further. Like if you can make the 32 with the same base as the 5, then you can go even further. So that's probably going to be in my next video. All right, so these questions, you actually won't be able to go much further than this. So I would stop right there. The next one is an addition. So I'm thinking probably the product law. So I'm going to go like this, take the 8 times the 9 and multiply them together. And you get log base 10 and then 72. All right, so again, here is one log, here is another log, but you know what? This one is different. It has something right here, and I don't like that. You want to be able to have the logs with only an invisible one in front. So we can do like a backwards power law and just bring that coefficient back up here to become an exponent. Okay, so right there. You know how like in the power law you would have taken this and brought it down to the front to become that coefficient? Well, you can kind of do the backwards of that as well. Now I have two logs with nothing in front of them, which is what I like. There's a minus, which means it's a quotient law. So you know what? Why don't we take log of 6, this guy divided by this guy. I'm going to just factor this into the difference of squares, and this guy I'll write twice, and then I'll cancel. So my final answer is just log of 6 and then 2x plus 3 and x minus 3. Okay, so check out my next video on more examples.